living in a fast-paced era with short clips filling our single fragment time. So have you ever stopped scrolling on and on to just stay still and think about your life? Being an introvert, I have spent a huge amount of time on all kinds of overthinking since a very young age. The thought that I get lost in most often is a question, why? We can ask countless whys in our life. I love science because an answer can be given after every why I ask. But life is completely different. Let me give a common example. Every day we are following a similar daily routine on studying at school. So what are we studying for? Your parents or teachers might have told you, you must study hard to get into a good university. But why should we get into a good university? For a better job in the future, and furthermore, for a better life, for money, for reputation, for success, and so on. What are these? If you keep asking why, those answers start to feel hollow and will end up with a question. What is the meaning of life? Is it playing a useful person or possessing those so-called success? Money, reputation, success, whatever else, these are things we humans made up. They're defined by humans. So what's the point of chasing those human subjective conceptions? Now, we can come to a conclusion. Life itself has no built-in meaning. Congratulations! Now we are standing at the age of nihilism. So what exactly is nihilism? Nihil means nothing, while is stands for ideology. So on the very surface, nihilism means the ideology of nothing. Think about the endless whys we asked just now. Sounds similar to a man who lived about 2,400 years ago, Socrates. He liked walking around the city and asking everyone the same kinds of questions. What is justice? What is truth? What makes a life good? If we want to find the earliest signs of nihilism, it can date back to Socrates and his questions. But here's the catch. Socrates believed that if he just kept asking enough questions, he would eventually find the answer, one universal truth that applies to everyone, everywhere, forever. He thought meaning was out there, hidden like buried treasure, waiting to be discovered. Descartes, a French mathematician and philosopher in the 17th century who is famous for idealism, also liked asking questions. He locked himself in a room and tried to doubt everything. His senses, his bodies, even whether the world existed. He ended up with one thing that he couldn't doubt. I think, therefore I am. But Descartes built his whole philosophy on this tiny island of certainty. And then everything else, the world, other people, meaning, became distant and unreachable. He didn't escape doubt. He just built a wall around himself. In other words, Socrates was searching for answers through his questions. Descartes was searching for foundations through his doubts. But what was the result? He did find a self, but that self was cut off from the world. Doubt didn't lead him toward meaning. It trapped him inside himself. Have you heard ignorance is bliss? There was a time I read some posts on social media saying one should not be exposed to philosophy too early. At that time, I couldn't agree more. So I tried to play games, do math, or anything else that I can do to keep my mind occupied. David Hume, a Scottish philosopher who took Socrates' questioning and turned it up to 11, had done something similar. He followed reason all the way down and got scared by what he found. He realized that if you are truly rational, you will end up doubting everything. Whether the sun will rise tomorrow, whether cause and effect ever exist, whether the world outside your mind is real. This terrified him. So what did he do? He said, I dine, I play a game of backgammon, I converse, and am merry with my friends. And when after 3 or 4 hours amusement, I will return to these speculations. They appear so cold and strange and ridiculous that I cannot find in my heart to enter into them any further. Is this our final way of confronting nihilism? Maybe not really. For me, after some time that I try to make my brain always occupied, while I am free, the thoughts that I try to escape from came flooding back, returning with a vengeance. Let's think on a larger scale. Think about school. School is supposed to help us grow, to face challenges, to figure out who we are. But what are we doing at schools nowadays? Every day, we copy notes from the PowerPoint, then copy knowledge into our brains by memorizing. Afterwards, copy those information from our brains to the papers in exams. We, the students, record, memorize, and repeat those phrases without perceiving what exactly we are repeating. This is pointed out as narration sickness by Paulo Freire in his book Pedagogy of the Oppressed. We are taught to adapt the society. The way how schools run is directly aiming for stability of the future society, which is made up of us. Nietzsche, the prophet of nihilism, introduced the figure of the last man in his book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. The last man no longer questions, no longer takes risks, no longer desires to transcend himself. He only seeks comfort, safety, and a long, cozy life, neither hot nor cold, without passion, without creation. The last man blinks and says, "We have invented happiness." Through this story, Nietzsche warns, if people stop looking upward, stop desiring, stop being willing to endure pain and uncertainty, then society will drift into the age of the last man. Then, a life focused only on comfort and stability is a slow kind of death. That's nihilism in disguise. In his opinion, Socrates, Descartes, Hume, they were all trying to find meaning because they couldn't handle the truth. And what's the truth? The truth is, there's no pre-existing meaning out there. Meaning isn't a treasure waiting to be discovered. It never was. It's something we create. And the modern philosopher Nolan Gertz points out that thinking life is meaningless, that's not nihilism. Nihilism starts when we run away from the fact that we have to create meaning by ourselves. Now, after we can clearly see where the questions come from, what shall we do? This brings me to my favorite philosopher, Albert Camus. In his book, Camus told the story of Sisyphus. You might know it. Sisyphus was punished by the gods and forced to push a giant rock up a mountain, only to watch it roll back down over and over for eternity. On a micro level, it's just like our daily routines. Wake up, go to school, do homework, take the exams, sleep, repeat. On a macro level, it is similar to our life and future. Get a good score, go to a better school, but after that, does happiness come? No, you still need to work hard or even harder. The higher mountains are waiting for you. Just like the rock never stays on top. Most people look at Sisyphus and feel sorry for him. Such a poor guy, trapped in meaningless labor forever. But Camus says, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because Sisyphus knows the truth. He knows the rock will fall. He knows his task is endless. But he walks back down that mountain anyway, and he pushes again. That choice, that refusal to give up is his rebellion, his freedom, his meaning. And this is what Camus calls absurdism, the confrontation between our human need for meaning and the universe's silent indifference. Rose petals or milestones, the human hand or love, desire or the law of universal gravitation are all equally important. In fact, it doesn't matter which path you choose. The will to reach the goal is enough. This revolt against giving up is the volley of life. My speech is over. Thank you.